The Hidden Guardians, Origin of the Mystical Feather. Burkina Faso, a land of golden sunsets and endless savannas, held secrets within its ancient soil. The villagers of Bobo-Dioulasso often whispered tales of a mystical feather, said to be imbued with the essence of a forgotten guardian spirit. This feather, luminescent under the moonlight, possessed powers beyond imagination. It could heal the gravely ill, summon rains in the heart of drought, and protect against the darkest of evils. For centuries, the feather had been safeguarded by a lineage of silent watchers, each sworn to secrecy and bound by an unbreakable oath. The current guardian, Minata, was a woman of formidable strength and wisdom. Her eyes, the color of the night sky just before dawn, held stories of generations past. Her presence was a soothing balm to the villagers, a living symbol of hope and protection. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of fire and violet, a strange and chilling wind swept through the village. Minata felt it first, a shiver that traveled down her spine, stirring the ancient warnings passed down through her bloodline. Something was amiss. In the heart of the village, an old baobab tree stood, its twisted branches reaching out like the arms of an ancient sage. This was the secret home of the feather, hidden within the hollow of the tree, wrapped in cloth and protected by ancient incantations. Minata approached the tree, her heart pounding like the ceremonial drums that echoed in the night. Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet began to tremble, and the air thickened with an eerie silence. The guardian spirit of the feather had awoken, sensing a threat unknown to the villagers. Minata reached into the hollow, her fingers brushing against the soft plume. It pulsed with warmth, and a vision surged into her mind, flashes of a shadowy figure, eyes gleaming with malice, moving towards the village. Back in the village, Minata gathered the elders under the flickering light of a fire. The flames danced in the night, casting shadows on the faces of those who had seen many seasons pass. Nana Koroma, the village elder, was the first to speak. "What have you seen, Minata?" "A darkness is approaching," Minata replied, her voice steady. "I saw a figure, eyes filled with malice, coming towards us. The feather warned me." Murmurs spread through the circle of elders. Each face reflected a mixture of fear and determination. "We must act," said Kofi, an elder with a voice as deep as the river. "We cannot let this darkness take our home." "The feather has chosen you, Minata," Nana Koroma said, her eyes fixed on the young guardian. "What must be done?" Minata took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her responsibility. "I must seek out the hidden guardian. Only with its aid can we hope to protect the feather and our village." As Minata prepared for her journey, Nana Koroma handed her a talisman, an intricately carved piece of ivory. "This will guide you," Nana whispered, her voice trembling with age and fear. "May the spirits watch over you, my child." With the talisman clutched tightly in her hand and the feather safely tucked away, Minata ventured into the unknown. The path to the caverns was treacherous, winding through dense forests and across roaring rivers. Each step was a battle against nature itself. As if the land was testing her resolve, the forest was alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures. Minata moved carefully, her senses heightened. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig could be a sign of danger. On the second day, she encountered her first true obstacle, a deep ravine, too wide to jump and too steep to climb. A fallen tree lay across it, forming a narrow, precarious bridge. Minata took a deep breath and stepped onto the tree. It creaked ominously under her weight. She moved slowly, keeping her balance, her heart pounding in her chest. Halfway across, a gust of wind threatened to topple her. She dropped to her knees, gripping the bark with her hands, and inched forward until she reached the other side. She lay on the ground for a moment, catching her breath. The talisman around her neck seemed to glow faintly, reassuring her. She was on the right path. That night, as she made camp beneath a canopy of stars, Minata felt the presence of eyes watching her from the shadows. She called out, her voice steady and commanding. "Show yourself, spirit of the guardian. I come seeking your aid to protect our land." A rustling in the bushes revealed a figure cloaked in darkness. It stepped forward, revealing a face both ancient and youthful, eyes burning with a wisdom that transcended time. The hidden guardian spoke, its voice a symphony of whispers and echoes. "You are brave, Minata of Bobo-Dioulasso, but bravery alone will not suffice. The feather's power must be awakened through a sacrifice of the purest kind." Minata's heart clenched as she realized the weight of the guardian's words. To save her village, to protect the sacred feather, she must offer something precious. Her mind raced through memories of loved ones, of the life she cherished, but deep within, she knew what must be done. "I offer myself," Minata declared, her voice unwavering, "my life for the safety of my people and the preservation of the feather." The guardian's eyes softened, and a gentle breeze enveloped Minata. "Your sacrifice is accepted," it said, placing a hand over her heart. A warm glow spread through her, and she felt a connection to the land and the spirits of her ancestors. The feather's power is now yours to command. With newfound strength, Minata returned to her village. The shadowy figure from her vision loomed on the outskirts, eyes glinting with malevolence. But Minata stood tall, the feather in her grasp radiating light and power. She called upon the spirits, channeling their strength through the feather, and a blinding light engulfed the figure, dissolving it into nothingness. The villagers cheered, their voices a chorus of relief and gratitude. Minata, now a true guardian in her own right, knew that the feather would continue to protect her people. And as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, she felt the presence of the hidden guardian beside her, a silent promise of eternal vigilance. In the years that followed, tales of Minata's bravery and the mystical feather spread far and wide, a testament to the enduring power of sacrifice and the unbreakable bond between the land and its people. Under the ancient baobab tree, the feather remained, a beacon of hope and protection for generations to come. The village thrived, with the rains coming when needed and the crops flourishing. The shadowy figure never returned, and peace settled over Bobo-Dioulasso like a warm blanket. Minata continued her duties as the guardian, her presence a constant reassurance to her people. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of colors, Minata sat with Nana Karoma under the baobab tree. "You have done well, Minata," Nana said, her voice filled with pride. "The spirits are pleased." "I only did what was necessary," Minata replied, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "The feather is a gift to our people. It is my honor to protect it." "And you will," Nana Karoma said, smiling, "for many years to come." Years passed, and a new generation grew up hearing the stories of Minata and the mystical feather. But as with all tales of magic and power, there were those who sought to possess it for themselves. One day, a stranger arrived in the village. He was a tall man with sharp features and eyes that seemed to see through to one's soul. He claimed to be a traveler, but there was something unsettling about him. The villagers whispered amongst themselves, their unease growing. Minata watched the stranger closely. She could feel the dark energy surrounding him, a familiar sense of foreboding that made her skin crawl. She knew she had to confront him. One evening, as the village gathered around the fire for stories, Minata approached the stranger. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. "And what do you seek here?" The stranger smiled, a cold, calculating smile. "I am merely a traveler. passing through. But I have heard tales of a mystical feather, and I am curious to see it for myself." "The feather is not for the eyes of strangers," Minata replied, her gaze unwavering. "It is protected by the spirits of this land." "Ah, but all things have a price," the stranger said, his eyes glinting with a dangerous light. "Perhaps we can come to an arrangement." "There is no arrangement to be made," Minata said, her voice growing hard. "Leave now, and do not return." The stranger's smile faded, and his eyes narrowed. "Very well," he said, turning on his heel and walking away. But Minata knew this was not the end. The darkness was gathering once more. Minata called a meeting with the village elders. "We must prepare," she said. "The stranger is a threat, and he will return." Kofi nodded. "We will gather the warriors and prepare the defenses. But what of the feather?" "We must protect it at all costs," Minata replied. "I will stay with it and ensure it is safe." The village was a flurry of activity as preparations were made. The warriors sharpened their weapons, and the women and children were moved to a safe location. Minata stood by the baobab tree, the feather clutched tightly in her hand, feeling the weight of her duty pressing down on her shoulders. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the village, the stranger returned. But he was not alone. Behind him came a group of men, their eyes filled with greed and malice. "Give me the feather," the stranger demanded, his voice echoing through the night. "Never," Minata replied, her voice strong and unwavering. "You will not take what is not yours." "Then you will die," the stranger said, drawing a sword. The battle was fierce and brutal. The villagers fought bravely, but the stranger's men were skilled and ruthless. Minata used the power of the feather to heal the wounded and protect her people, but she could feel her strength waning. As the fight raged on, the stranger made his way to the baobab tree. Minata stood in his path, the feather glowing with a soft, ethereal light. "You cannot win," the stranger sneered. "The feather will be mine." "Over my dead body," Minata replied, raising the feather. A blinding light erupted from it, engulfing the stranger and his men. When the light faded, they were gone, leaving only the scent of scorched earth behind. The village was silent in the aftermath of the battle. The wounded were tended to, and the dead were mourned. Minata stood by the baobab tree, the feather still glowing softly in her hand. She had won, but at a great cost. Nana Koroma approached her, her face lined with grief. "You have done well, Minata, but we have lost many." "I know," Minata said, her voice heavy with sorrow. "But the feather is safe, and the village is protected." "The spirits will watch over us," Nana Koroma said, placing a hand on Minata's shoulder. "And we will rebuild." As the years passed, the village rebuilt and life returned to normal. Minata continued to guard the feather, her presence a constant reassurance to her people, but she knew her time as guardian would one day come to an end. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of colors, Minata called the village together. "The time has come for a new guardian to be chosen," she said. "The feather must be protected, and the spirits have guided me to the one who will take my place." She turned to a young woman standing at the edge of the crowd. "Fati, step forward." Fati, a strong and brave young woman, stepped forward, her eyes wide with surprise. "Me? Minata?" "Yes," Minata said, smiling. "The spirits have chosen you. You have the strength and the heart to protect the feather and our village." Fati nodded, accepting the talisman and the feather from Minata. "I will do my best, Minata. I will protect the feather with my life." "I know you will," Minata said, placing a hand on Fati's shoulder. "The spirits will guide you." With Fati as the new guardian, the village continued to thrive. The feather remained a symbol of hope and protection, its power a constant reminder of the bond between the land and its people. Minata watched from the sidelines, proud of the young woman who had taken up her mantle. She knew the feather was in good hands and that the village would continue to prosper under Fati's watchful eye. For more videos, smash the subscribe and like buttons.